The day I was born, I was handed a gem that is absolutely impossible to buy. That was my freedom.
No matter how much we love our country, we fought for each other. We never thought about it as sacrifice as much as the necessity to do your job so that the group could succeed.
Character is developed, and it's usually developed with negative experiences. Some people develop it without these experiences, but I don't know any of them.
As a teenager, most of the time I wasn't in school. I was ditching school, jacking down the beach, and I didn't really understand what was going on. I knew the war, and I know they were protesting, but I just shut that out of my life, just do my time overseas and come back home.
On career day in my senior year, all the services come to your high school. And I'll never forget that day. The Air Force recruiter got up and gave his pitch, and there were catcalls and hoots and hollers in the Army and the Navy, the same things. And then the Marine gunny, the recruiter, got up and said, "There's no one in this room that I want in my Marine Corps." But he epitomized what I thought the military was all about. And needless to say, I was one of the guys that lined up at his desk, and I joined the Marine Corps.
My father was a career pilot, B-47s, B-52s, and he was the driving force behind everything I did. I had great respect for him, and I always wanted to be a pilot, and I did. I became a pilot in the Air Force and was for 30 years.
We landed at Tonsanute, and they had a mortar attack just as we landed. I was 19 years old. What's this? What's going on? It was a very interesting welcome.
I remember they opened up the back of the plane and like a big rush of hot, humid air. It's, kind of caught you off guard and had an odor to it. I remember just being uneasy for a while. I enlisted in the service, and I figured, I'm glad I'm here, but there's a part of me that was saying that I wasn't, so I don't know.
Our first operation was off of Entree Island. Acclimatize yourself to Vietnam, the culture, the heat, conditions, everything that was there. And that was a challenge, but it still wasn't like it was real. But then after first actual combat, watching somebody get hit, watching what it does, became very real very quickly.
Although a lot of medics weren't sent into combat, I always knew I would. It's one of those things you just know.
Our job was to provide close and continuous support to the infantry. That's the artilleryman's job. So we would sometimes have to fire almost continuously for 8 or 10 hours. And then you may lay around for 2 days and polish your bullets. Sergeant James Gant from Lansing, Michigan, he was the meanest sergeant I've ever seen in my life, and he would make us take each bullet out of our clip every night before it got dark and polish it. He was just a bitter old sergeant, and that's why he was picking on us.
I remember they started filling me up with the rejects of all the other units. Probably 10 to 15 had graduate degrees. They were the speechwriters. And then a bunch of guys who'd been in the stockades. We were called the clerks and the jerks. And I used to think, my God, I have a few very, very smart guys and a lot of really mean guys. What a great group to go to war with. But it was a group that they were mine.
The fight started, I had 2 platoons moving through that jungle. It was a rainy, miserable, cloudy day when we couldn't use air, artillery, anything else. It was nothing but a rifleman's fight. Early in that fight, I lost all my platoon leaders.
The NVA were at the other end of the valley. Charlie Company walked into a 3-point ambush. All hell broke loose. All I really wanted at that point was get out there and take care of my men.
At that time, you had already threw in a grenade, and I guess I threw 2 out, and then about the third one I just covered up because there was no place to go or I'd have been gone.
The prison we were in was the old French prison in Hanoi. I had some absolutely brutal torture sessions, and 2 or 3 times, frankly, I would have preferred to die.
It was just like living in a bad dream. And I didn't think that I was probably going to see daylight, but I wasn't going to quit, because I thought, well, if I don't do my job, those guys behind me ain't got a chance.
I'm already shot in the hip. I can't move around that much. But then when I was hit in the face, my life had stopped at that moment. I didn't want to play anymore. I didn't want to take care of anybody, but then I had to come back and put myself together again, gather my composure.
Then you get the horrible news that you hope you'd never hear. In our case, one of the first was one of our youngest. John had received a letter from Alice that they were soon to be proud parents of twins. I paused, mentally at least, said, God, why John? Why not me? It's almost powerful enough to stop you in your tracks, but fortunately, I was able to view it as a need for me to dig deeper.
When I was a kid, I remember my uncles and my friends' their dads, and talking about World War II, but they never talked about the shooting part, the dying part. They never said, listen, son, war is hell, and it's something you don't want to do.
It was something you couldn't describe. It took me 15 years to tell anybody what happened.
I killed the enemy, but I killed somebody's father, brother.
We weren't prepared for the chaos that we saw. First time I've ever prayed in my life.
War is just a terrible thing.
Lost a lot of kids, I didn't know their name.
I thought I had it made till a voice said, you're my prisoner.
Some of those guys, you just cannot believe what they did.
A lot of brave Marines died on that hill. I can never forget it.
I do not find it easy to send the flower of our youth, our finest young men, into battle. But I know them all, every one.
You can imagine what it's like to be a young person wanting to do a good job and being recognized by your service, your country. But an American soldier is somebody that's willing to make sacrifices for those on the left and the right. And you're willing to do that because you know they're doing it for you. And so you don't consider yourself special.
I don't feel like I did anything spectacular. I was an American, and I was wanting to do the right thing. But I can tell you, in all honesty, I was scared. I was afraid. I didn't care whether we was fighting the North or the South, or if it was Democrat or Republican. I had survival skills on my mind, and to get these Marines home.
There were 11 of us left standing that morning out of the 42 that started. And if there was one of these given that night, there should be at least 42 of them. Because if any one of us had not done their job, there would be none of us alive. It sounds silly, perhaps, to say that I went to war and found out about love. What real love is? That night, when the enemy broke contact, I started crawling back to help those guys behind me when I came across my Mino sergeant again. He couldn't talk, but he picked his hand up. So I grabbed a hold of his hand and I looked down in his eyes, all these things that he had, polishing the bullets, the beehive rounds, sitting out in 100-degree heat with a blindfold. Sergeant Gant shared with us the things that he knew was going to help us survive. And when I looked down in his eyes, I knew that he didn't hate me, that he loved me. The Medal of Honor represents love.
There are a lot of heroes in the military. During the time of war, there's a lot of sacrifices, and you can't sit around afterwards and try to compare medals. I know a lot of people braver than I am. I know a lot of people that are dead that, made that ultimate sacrifice, that supreme sacrifice. You can't get any braver than that.
It was easy to earn. It's tough to wear. Because every time I put that medal on, I'm not representing just Ron Ray. I'm representing all those guys that was on the ground with me that day. Their lives, their wishes, their futures, all that was with me that day.
It's hard for me to convey how important freedom is. And I didn't appreciate it, and I don't know that anyone can until they've lost it. It doesn't happen automatically. It's got to be re-earned by every generation, or at least every other generation. If you let it slip very long, it's gone.
Freedom, that's the underlying reason, I guess, that I survived every battle that I was ever in Vietnam. I didn't want to lose that freedom. And so when I received that honor, I felt that I was sharing it
with members of my family that had sacrificed their lives. And so I hold it very dear to my heart.
When I got my award, and I first met some of these World War II recipients who are still here, they were much younger than I am today. But we have not changed as a nation as much as many people think. The notions that made us free in the first place, young people pledging everything that they had, including their lives, that's still alive. We've seen it in Iraq and Afghanistan just as much as we saw it in Vietnam or the Second World War. We are lucky to have young people like this who are willing to lay their lives on the line so that we could have what the United States has to offer.
There's some words that are very difficult. Heroism, selflessness, courage, brotherhood. Those terms are very broad. Even if you're not in the military, you have to be willing to help wherever you're needed, however you're needed. There's a relationship that you just can't explain, but everybody who's ever been in that situation knows what it is.